maybe scared away some people to come in person. We'll see. Yeah, who don't know us yet, this is Sarah Mesquita and I'm Carolina Douillet. You can also call me Carolina if you prefer that or something. And yeah, it's already our third time having here with two great speakers again. And as we started was, and I think last time, we started about a good debate arguing session with some DataVis critique. We'll see how that goes also when we start a bit later. Don't pass through the camera, please. I was just talking to you. Yeah, that's the camera that you will block. So, like as a warming up, I choose something really easy, something nice. I have to say, this guy who posted it up even asked for some requests, but I thought it's like a nice thing to talk about because he was even thinking about just changing some colors. So the last time what we did was some suggestion, what could you change, or what do you even see, what complication do you think? So do you have something in mind? Would it be enough to just change the colors? Would you understand what he chose right away?
If you want to compare between each one, it's very helpful for reading.
Yeah. And what else would you change? I mean, it's a really nice one to have a lot of suggestion, I think.
Group some fishes and some items.
You mean like similar things to each other?
Group.
Something? Yeah. I mean, underneath it's like the amount of money you spent. So even that one, and it says really handy for you to read. And even the whole question, is a bar chart the one that fits for you, or do you have like another idea?
Bar chart.
Yeah. I was just about to say there's so many just coming out with bar chart. But even like, for example, the epsilon scale, there you put it like a dark line there, and I think that's already confusing. If you see it like you mentioned, there might be something that's zero or like nearly not visible, so you can even switch that off, or you can arrange them of the biggest amount of spending, or like he said, like group them up or something. It's like just some quick suggestions we could make, or even, I mean, the amount of money you don't need to squeeze them really, or you need like not to show every step of these. You can even make them bigger or something. Yeah, or you can make it funny, like, you know, there's even some really bad ones, funny ones of this. I would say they stuck in money or something and try to come up with some bubbles with things, but you can play around. So that was a really easy one. I just wanted to start with this one, and now we have a way nicer one.
And this is definitely more effort in terms of design, and I thought it was really cool one, and you have to go down a bit more, and if you click on it, it gets bigger, and you can see that it will, I'll give you a minute to look at it, and to come up with some suggestions as well, because even if it's really nice, you can still, I think, improve it, or you could make it.
There's no legend.
Okay.
What the colors mean.
Exactly. One of the things is that I know, because I read the article, and it says like the intensity, like with the yellow it's more intense, and the red.
And it's black on black.
Yeah, that's that's green as well.
Yeah,
it's an original dark blue ocean, and like the countryside.
But it's too black.
And if you see geographic analytics, why not having the border, right? To the countries, or at least define the regions.
Yeah, you don't see that on the
geographic. So
yeah, you can see it better on your laptop if you open it, but yeah, it could be improved.
It's not so black in the.
No.
It's
not. So you can see here the European.
It's like a Christmas tree.
There's no timeline.
Yeah, exactly. I was hoping for that one because, okay, we see that it's 24 hours, but if it's a time lapse, you should have like something like showing that the time is passing. And apparently something wrong with Germany. I don't know why exactly. Koro?
I don't know if you have any suggestion what the weird Germans are doing there.
I don't know, something secret for sure.
Yeah, we thought about like maybe we use
Perhaps
it.
holiday in
Huh?
Germany, no? That
We thought maybe use more firewalls or something, blocking them to track us or something. I don't know, because that's a bit confusing.
Yeah, if you go down, it's
they may have no data.
but yeah, you got the idea. If we have time, we can still show the Nadia or the other one that you have.
No, I don't edit the other one, but we could.
This one is just to mention. I don't know. I know that it's like too fluffy, probably for you. I don't know, but it's like a really nice one. It was released like the last week or something like that, and it's a designer. Actually, not a designer, but anyway, Nadia Bremer works as a data visualization designer, and in collaboration with Google Trends, she came up with this visualization to show what people ask actually on Google about dogs and cats. Yeah. So yeah, it's just to give you an idea that you can do really cool stuff even with this kind of data, or if you want to make it more serious, you could use probably data coming from politics, like some speech or something, people asking about Trump, I don't know. So yeah, and also one of the cool things that she has is that on her blog you can follow all the process actually. So she describes every step that she took to come up with this visualization. So it's a really cool way to learn. Yeah.
Yeah, here you see the whole
Yeah,
process.
the idea, the data, where comes the data, and what she did to the data, and yeah, every step actually. So it's a really nice thing to go through.
Yeah, and the idea also that we still kept on with this data critique section, showed you that is, well, the next time we think about adding also like a small part that you can come up with it, like you say like, you have to see that, it's great, it's amazing, or there's a great talk, or I want to discuss that for a few minutes with you or something, because there should be like also build more networking and collaboration and things. So this we will post as well. It was things that's come in our mind and some nice approach, some thoughts, but now we will go to professionals.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can. I will just step aside.
Sorry. So Simão holds a master in informatics and computer engineering from the Faculty of Engineering of the University of Porto. And between 2009 and 2018, he lived in Cambridge, UK, where he worked for 5 years at UNEP-WCMC, an executive agency of the United Nations Environment Programme, starting as a web developer and later as an analyst developer. At the end of 2014, he joined Vizzuality, where he works as a project manager. And in 2017, he led the opening of Vizzuality office in Porto, having moved back to his hometown in 2018. Please.
Just need to switch this. I'm never going to read that, so now I don't have half the things to say about myself.
You can skip. No.
My time is I'm not reading.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to start. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for having me. Sorry I'm not here, but thanks to her as well. Thank you guys for coming. It's really nice to be able to come here and talk a bit about what I do. As Sarah said, my name is Simão. I'm a project manager at Vizzuality, and I've been working at Vizzuality since 2014. And maybe I'm just going to start by asking if anyone, besides the people that invited me and the girl who spoke with me earlier, knows about Vizzuality. Have you guys heard about this company? Show of hands. Someone? One. Yes. I hope it's not too boring for you because I'm going to talk a bit about what we do. So, Vizzuality is a data design agency, an international data design agency whose purpose is to reach a fair and sustainable planet by creating tools that radically empower people to make positive changes now. One day I'll memorize this and I'll be able to say it without reading. Sorry, today is not that day. In this talk I'm going to talk to you about what we do and how we do it, and then go a bit more specifically into one example of that. But for a bit more context, Vizzuality, again, the screen is not great because the maps is much better on a laptop than you do here. But Vizzuality has 3 offices. It was founded in 2009 in Madrid. It opened an office in Cambridge in 2014, and in 2017 we opened an office in Porto. Besides that, we also have a series of remote workers working in Coruña, Malaga, Barcelona, and more recently also in Jakarta, Indonesia. We are 46 people now. Ask you to not count the people in the picture because it won't add up. This picture is from July last year, and we have since hired a few more people to the team, and even some people there are facilitators of our meetings, so they're not going to count. Maybe one thing that I thought might be interesting, just so I know a bit more about you guys, is that I'm going to tell the roles that we have here at Vizzuality, and maybe you guys could raise your hands if you identify with one or more of those, just so I know a bit better of what you might be at the end of this. So we have backend developers. Nice, well done guys. You're the best, because I was a backend developer as well. We have people that do business development, raising projects and finding projects. No one? Roughly? Yes? It's a good distribution so far. We have designers, obviously. I'm not going to keep track because otherwise I'm going to mess up the statistics. We have front-end developers. Operation folks helping us keep the machine running, project managers, like me, just me. Wow. We have psychologists, here, and we have a series of researchers for geographers, social scientists, and we also have scientists. So actually, we have a few scientists. I said researchers and psychologists, researchers, scientists. Maybe the same. There's a good intersection there. So actually, one thing that might be interesting, just curiosity. We used to have a lot of data scientists in the company, and now we don't. We don't actually just have scientists because we're trying to bring more depth to the things that we do. So data scientist is a series of tools that allow us to manage data and learn data and use data, but we think that calling them scientists gives them a bit more depth. So now we have a science team, so real science. As I said, I work in Porto, and again, our picture is updated. We have hired another person since this was taken a month ago, and we are only 5 or 6 now, but growing, and it's really nice to be back in Porto. We're right in the middle of the city, in the center of the city. If you guys want to stop by, let me know. We have coffee. We work, so Vizzuality works with multiple institutions, most of which are, I think, well, a lot of them are international NGOs. And others are from the private sector, some governments. A lot of the companies that we work with are based in the US, but we also have some projects here in Europe and some also with Asia. We work with them in the fields of biodiversity and conservation, social change, transparency, supply chain management, and other things. I'm now going to go a bit into some of the projects that we do and what do they try to achieve, to whom, and who we partner with, so they get a bit more context of the type of work that we do. It won't be too much depth, but hopefully it will be interesting for you. So the first project that I'm going to show is Climate Watch. Climate Watch is a partnership. Oh, actually, if you want to follow it, you can check it online. Most of them work well on mobile. So Climate Watch is a project that we built in partnership with the World Resources Institute, international think tank based in Washington, D.C. It is a project that is targeted at journalists, researchers, policymakers, and the goal and what it tries to achieve is to bring transparency and information about climate change and greenhouse gas emissions to everyone, basically. So imagine that you are concerned with climate change, as you should be, because we're all doomed. Well, I'm hoping for some laughs, but it's true, so it's sad. But if you are worried about it, you could actually come to this website and see what your country is doing about it. What are the commitments that your country made in Paris in 2015 to either mitigate, to adapt, or to reduce the causes of climate change. Adapt and mitigate the effects, but also adjust to avoid to reduce emissions and so on. The project links not only those national determined contributions, but also brings in the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations, which try to put this, which are a series of goals that are relevant for everyone because they deal with poverty, water, hunger, reducing inequalities, climate action, and so on. Besides looking into what has happened and how that might affect the present, Climate Watch also has a section about the future. Using modelers' data about greenhouse gas emissions, it tries to see how will the emissions in the world evolve depending on if you do nothing or if you do something. So this is Climate Watch. Next up, Trace. Trace is a tool that we've been working with the Stockholm Environment Institute and also with the Global Canopy. It's focused on supply chain and commodities trading. It tracks the origin of commodities from the municipality in South America into the countries that import them. So this data has been collected in different municipalities, ports, and other places of trade, and compiled and modeled to try to set up this the path that each piece of meat or soy is taken from source to the importing country. It's a tool that can be used by the big companies that trade in these commodities, that buy these commodities to produce their products, be it beef or soy, and I don't know good examples, apologies for that, but also by the consumer. The moment the information is stopping at the entry point, but ideally in the future you'd actually be able to have some kind of notion of the products that you buy in the grocery shop, where is it coming from. Besides showing this data, it also links it to other environmental and other relevant information about the places where the commodity is being produced or sourced from. So it can show you where there was commitments for zero deforestation, where there have been actual deforestation, and highlight this, and so that you can have a better and more sustainable consumer. If we cannot stop you, let's improve it. Then this other project has a very, very ambitious goal. It aims to stop the 6th max extinction of species. I don't know, have you guys heard of that? Read the book? No one did? You should have read it. It's really nice. But it is a bit scary. It brings information about species distribution models and tries to identify the areas where the protection and conservation of that area would more positively affect the number of species. So the notion that, and it's called Half Earth because it stands behind the theory that to conserve the most of the biodiversity in our species, including ourselves, you need to protect half of the land and half of the sea in the world. So it tries to do that, this driving change and driving conservation efforts by using scientific outputs and bringing together this data and modeling information so that better decisions can be made. It's built by us in collaboration with the U. Wilson Biodiversity Foundation and Map of Life, which is a research group at Yale, the Yale University. And the goal, the target audience is always, and ends up being always the policymakers, because they can make more change, they can have a bigger impact, but also the general public. So by bringing data at up to 1 kilometer resolution in different parts of the world, you can actually drive local groups to care and to see how can they help and conserve the planet. The last example I'm going to talk about is Global Forest Watch. It's our biggest application. We've been working on it since 2014. I don't know, anyone heard about it, used it, went there when there were a lot of fires in Portugal? Sadly, you should. So Global Forest Watch is a global tool focused on monitoring deforestation around the world. It includes more than 200 data sets that go from tree cover, like where can you find trees and how many trees you can find or how much density it has, to where deforestation is happening, up to weekly updates. So we've leveraged satellite data to predict where deforestation is happening. And then also fires. So it has information about active fires with 24 or 74 hours. And actually, the fires data set is updated every 4 hours. It is a monitoring tool that is targeted again at policymakers, local NGOs, but also to indigenous communities. What happens with deforestation is that the places that have more and where it has a bigger impact are not in our neighborhood. They're in the hemisphere, in the tropics, and so it's the local indigenous people that are more affected by it. This tool tries to drive that information into them as well, because we worked, and I'm not showing it here, but we worked also on a mobile app that allows you to bring this data into the hands of these people so they can help them manage and monitor their information. Global Forest Watch is built in partnership again with the World Resources Institute, which is one of our biggest partners with whom we work the most, and it is basically that. I think I said it. Sorry. So now I told you about some of our projects, some of the things we work with, but I would like to also tell you a bit about the way we work. How do we organize ourselves in broad terms? So I'm gonna show you how we call it. We call it pragmatism. Show of hands who heard about Agile. Who heard about pragmatism? I don't know if anyone else coined it, but we accepted that Agile is very interesting set of methodologies, all the very good pros and cons, but that they not always work out of the box with every project, and with every client, and with every team. So we to avoid getting stuck to a fixed methodology, we try to adapt to what our clients are used to doing, what the project constraints, budget, and timeline are, and work our way around it so that we can make it agile the best we can. So some of this might be a bit repetitive for some of you, but I'm going to go through the different phases that we go through in our projects. So typically, when a project starts, we do some user research. We do interviews with users or potential users. We do analytics reviews if the site already exists, obviously. Sometimes the site doesn't, so we don't have analytics, but we have potential users, potential groups of users. So we'll invite them and we'll ask them how do they relate to the problems at hand, or what are their needs. So one thing that I've learned a while ago is that when the client comes to us, they have something that they want, something that they think the user needs. And user research is one of the tools that we use to actually figure out what the user needs and how to fix it, and how to help them fix it. From the user research and information collected, or rather, in parallel with user research, we do also data discovery and data research. So in this step, what we're doing is actually looking at the data sets that the client sends us. Are they good quality? How big they are? Are they open? Can we share it? Do they have APIs that we can use it from or not? And see also a bit beyond it. Are there any other projects that we worked in that have data that could be relevant here? I think I forgot to mention that we are an open source company. Most of our projects are on GitHub open, and you can go there and criticize and contribute if you want to fix bugs. But also the data is open, so most of our websites allow you to download the data to use in your own applications, in your own projects, And so this also enables us to bring more value to the new projects that we start, because we can use ourselves, our own data sets and existing tools. This enables us to give this depth that I was talking about when I mentioned the science thing, because we can go beyond not only looking at what the data is and what they want to show, but how can we enrich it, how can we look at it from different points of view. All of this information from data discovery and user research is then dumped into the designers, and we start building wireframes. I hope we don't have a lot of designers, I don't think. We have a few, but I hope everyone knows what wireframes are. Because the truth is, a lot of people think they do, but they don't. The main struggle with talking about wireframes at times is explaining why everything is so gray and there are no logos and the colors are so dull. Because when we're doing wireframes, we're trying to sketch the blueprint, per se, of the website. Where do things sit? How do they relate to each other? What functionality we're trying to map? And now we move about. So it includes also information architecture and all of that. But when we present to clients, sometimes it's a bit of a challenge to figure out that, take it easy, it's going to look beautiful after this. After a few iterations of wireframes, we bring the brushes in and we make it beautiful. We bring also our scientists work very closely with our designers to make sure, because of the discovery, sometimes they already know how they think the data should show. And so they can work together to make it functional and beautiful and usable. So this is a very big and key step, and one of those moments that when I go talk to a client and say, look at this, and they're like, woo! And I'm like, I didn't do anything for this, but I'm here presenting it to you. And it's a big pleasure. Once we have visual designs, all of that information we build. We get started. And we're using, so we do projects, and we do web projects mostly. The tools that we use are typically Ruby on Rails for APIs, database management, and so on. We use also Node.js when we have to. We use React.js in the front end, D3. Sometimes we use Vega. I don't know if you guys heard of it. It's kind of
last session.
Last session was
so
about
everyone knows about it now. More than I probably. So yeah, so we build in different iterations as well. So at the start of the implementation phase, we try to split up the different features that we're going to build into different releases and see how to better present it to the users. And we do this to the users and to the clients, obviously. We do this so that we can very early on put it to test. Does it work? Does it not work? Does it do what it should do? So we'll invite users to come and look at what we built and run a script and see if they can do the actions that we think. Well, we have identified that they are needed, but we need to know if they can actually do that. This process, it kind of goes this way, but it's not necessarily linear. There's a lot of feedback loops and a lot of iterations. Sometimes we are designing and wireframing just a part of the site so we can get on with the implementation. Sometimes we are going back because we learned from the user testing that we need to give a step back and do it better. So what about that journey? That's what I was going to talk to you about, so we will start now. I'm not going to talk to you about a whole project, but rather a part of the Global Forest Watch project. So it's going to be focused on the country pages that we've developed, we were developed and released last year, the new version, which actually now are linked as dashboards. So what I'm going to talk to you is about a problem that we identified with these pages. They already existed. We had some country pages, some ranking of countries in the site, but they weren't working so well. It was one of the parts of the website that was one of the pages of the website that was least visited. We were getting a lot of traction, and it was kind of pleasant to the eye. Had a lot of data, a lot of information, but it wasn't really cutting. So we decided together at the time that this would be something that we need to improve. We need to make them better. And so we come up with a solution. We did these designs, which look tidier, have some changes. So we included the map next to on the side of the page, so just to put some data into context and show some data layers. And we include some of the charts that we had. But sadly, this didn't really solve our problem. This first approach made it look better, but we still had a lot of challenges. So there's a lot of data. What happens when a user that doesn't know anything about deforestation or what tree cover loss is, what is this number? Is that a lot of protected areas? Is that 34,000? Is that a lot or not? You have other figures that you can relate to each other, but it just really didn't cut it. So we identified the real problem, and the real problem is that we are trying to show a lot of data in a page to users of different that were coming from different places, and probably people were coming here like, whoa, no idea what is happening. And so we had to try to figure out how we can go about finding a solution for it. And so we started. That slide was completely pointless. But we started by telling the client that instead of thinking just on the data that we had, to think on what questions they'd like the user to have answered. When someone comes to this page, what do they need to know about forests? What are the key things about deforestation? What should concern people or not? And this was a massive website exercise because there's like 200 or more data sets. Everything is super important. Everything is super urgent. Everything is really very good data. But when everything is important, nothing is important. Everything is a priority. Nothing is a priority. You just have a lot of data. So besides thinking about those questions, we asked them to think about the key questions. What should be the highlights of this page? What should be the things that the people see first? What do we want the page for the country profiles, the dashboards now to be? We want people to come here and understand what is the state of forests in a country. So we have, like, something happens in Portugal, there's a lot of fires. If you want to know how bad it is, you could go to here and try to put it in context. So once we have the questions, we went ahead and tried to help them answer these questions. How could we answer them with the data? Then we look at the data. We invite our scientists to prepare beautiful Jupyter notebooks with a lot of equations and numbers and letters and stuff, and thinking about how can we answer the information better, how to prepare what charts are more relevant, what APIs we need to build, where we don't have the data available to do it. That was one of the steps we did. And then we went and made it look good. So by working with the designers and the research that we had from the analytics and the user testing and the data science, we mashed them together, made it look good. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to slide through this a bit faster. And then we built it with proper computers, and we have tested it. And we've shown it to different users. We're actually, well, maybe not anymore, but we were running a couple of user testing sessions in the past couple of days and today, and it was good. It was better. But what did we build? Where did we land? Well, I'm gonna just refresh my memory of what it was before. So, a lot of high-level information there. Some charts, trend lines that are not really trends, are just trends for that chart, doesn't really give a lot of context. Big numbers, more charts. And now, if you want, you can also look at it online because it's online. And we replace it with this. And the next slides are a little bit more in detail and some of the key features of it. But it's, in my opinion, has more context, is more clean, and it makes the data, it makes more of the data we have and kind of prepares the information a bit better. So, some highlights of the new country pages. First of all, we started immediately with a paragraph that summarizes a lot of the key information about forests. In this case, about the natural forests, the extension that they cover, like percentile, so that you can have a sense. Is it like with 399? Is it a lot? It's actually 47% of Brazil's area, so that's quite a lot. And then how much it has been lost, what were the level of emissions, and all of that information straight there out of the bat. You can do a quick lookup over different countries. Then keeping the map. So this was in that first solution that we tried, but we tried to keep the map. Here it looks a bit broken because it's a screenshot, so we didn't really scroll, but it is actually sliced through, so it's better. And but it allows you to see what are you looking at. Again, quite a simple solution, but it's quite powerful, especially when you're looking at like administrative levels inside of the country, because actually there's data for up to municipality level. It depends, the nomenclature varies in countries, but it's like country level, regions, and city or municipality. So for Portugal, I think it goes up to like Lisbon could be a city or metropolitan area. So it's quite interesting. Then we tried to rebuild all of our widgets and charts in a way that not only shows you data, sorry on, but also includes a kind of a summary sentence that explains it a bit for you. So if you're not so much into the data and just want a quick overview of what is happening, what it's telling you, you can quickly look at it. It's also dynamic, so as you move through the chart, it will adjust and make it more relevant for the thing that you're looking at. We had a lot of complexity and a lot of data in the other page. So one thing that we did was reduce the barrier to entry for someone that doesn't really need all of those details. Not everyone will know straight out of the bat what is forest type, or what are the land categories and if they're relevant or not, or even which extended year to use. So by putting that in a little like a settings button allows you to go deeper into the data, learn more if you're keen and you know about it and you want to take more out of it, but keeping it clear and cleaner for everyone. It also, by merging some of these features into that settings button, it reduces the number of widgets that you need to show, because you could have one widget for each of those variations, and it will be a sea of widgets, very hard to manage and to understand. And this is probably one of the biggest challenges, which is about the key questions, like what is the key things that you need to show straight away. The other thing that we did, and making it more useful to have a map on the side, was that little button that says show on the map. It allows you to, at the same time as you look to a widget on the left-hand side, that you can actually visualize it by clicking on that button, see it on the map, and have better context of those data sets and giving you another way of merging these two features. So previously we had country pages and map, and the map was where everyone was going. And we weren't leveraging it at all on the country pages because they were quite two separate worlds. With this latest version of the dashboards and the country pages, we bring them together, we make them most use of both technologies. We also, one thing that I actually don't have a slide for it, but is that some of these widgets are also on the map. So we built it in a modular way so that when we have analysis directly on the map, you can actually see some of the data next to it, and you can do more with it, and the site is more connected. We also brought in some kind of like the ranking so that you can easily navigate across countries. So you might be exploring data for Brazil, but you have a kind of a ranking or several ranking widgets that allow you to see how it compares with the rest of the world, and able to navigate from one country to another, increasing discoverability of the data. The same for regions, because we have these different levels of information. We can actually rate and rank rank the regions inside of a country and show how they compare, what is the relevance of each of them, and also enable discovering more.